Alright, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to take a look at another World Championship winning deck in Magic the Gathering's history. And this time it is Blue-Black Control, the deck that won the championship in 2010. It's a pretty boring and generic name, but it was pretty much just Blue-Black Control. It disrupted your hand, it killed your creatures, it countered your spells, and then it won with Planeswalkers and a very big creature. So, yep, Blue-Black Control. So the tournament would take place in Chiba, Japan, and the deck would be piloted by Guillaume Matignon. And Standard at the time was composed of the Zenda card block, the Scars of Mirrodin block, and the 2011 core set. So first off, let's get straight to it. The deck played Jace, the Mind Sculptor, one of the most powerful planeswalkers in existence, banned in Modern for a very long time, and eventually banned in Standard as well. He completely warped the format around him, and naturally, he was a perfect fit for a control build. And as an aside, the deck also played Jace Bellerin. We'll look at that in a second. But Jace the Mind Sculptor, +2, you get to look at the top card of target player's library, and you may put that on the bottom. So you can do that to filter your own draws, or you can just continuously look at your opponent's top card and deny them the ability to draw things that they need to, win. Pretty good. For 0, for absolutely nothing, you get to Brainstorm. Pretty good. And for just a measly -1, you get to return a creature to its owner's hand, which is, for just -1, it's not bad at all. And then, there is an ultimate. It's a pretty good Planeswalker, and very good in control decks. And then the other Jace, +2, each player draws a card. Not that exciting. It's okay. -1, so you can draw a card. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. And again, another ultimate that's not important, but hey, it's card advantage in a control deck, so useful. So I don't need to elaborate on these too much. Jace the Mind Sculptor, one of the most powerful planeswalkers in history, and a blue-black deck got to play it in Standard. Naturally, it was really good. The other win condition in the deck was Grave Titan. Grave Titan is a 6-mana 6/6 with Death Touch. Not that it really needs Death Touch because it's already a 6/6, it's already bigger than most things, but just in case, hey, it's got Death Touch, just in case it does go into combat with something bigger. And when it enters the battlefield or attacks, so when it enters the battlefield, you automatically get 2/2/2 zombie tokens, and then you'll get 2 more every single time it attacks. So that's pretty good, pretty good. And then the rest of the deck is just pretty simple. It does everything you expect Blue-Black Control to do. So first off, it had Duress and Inquisition of Kozilek, which are hand disruption spells. Duress, a classic, it's been outclassed recently with, Inquisition, as we see here, and Thoughtseize, but it's the OG hand disruption spell. Inquisition of Kozilek, it's a modern staple, pretty good. So yeah, the important thing here is you get to look at the opponent's hand and strip out the stuff that they need to, win and whatnot. Then it played Mana Leak and Cancel as counter spells, and again, they do the same thing, just counter spells, they counter stuff. So if you do manage to cast anything through the hand disruption spells, there's always a counter spell just waiting to nab that spell out of thin air. Yep, counter spells, pretty simple. And then if the opponent does manage to actually resolve something, we have Doomblade and Disfigure to kill creatures. Doomblade destroys any non-black creature. Disfigure gives a creature -2/-2, which doesn't seem that great, but it does, it kills smaller creatures, which is useful for a control deck because you're usually, being harassed by small creatures in the early game. So Disfigure just stalls the game, stalls for time, kills a small creature, pushes the game a little bit later. That's the idea. Doomblade also does the same, but can kill bigger creatures as well. And then every good control deck needs a good board sweeper. And in this Standard environment, that was Consume the Meek, which is not the best board sweeper, but it got the job done. For 5 mana, it destroys each creature with converted mana cost 3 or less. They also can't be regenerated if that's relevant, but basically it just wipes the board of really small creatures. So yeah, not the most, amazing board sweeper ever, but it did work against aggro decks. It allowed you to get lots of card advantage against aggro decks, and it does what a board sweeper does. It wipes the board. So yeah, it works. And then a couple other cards the deck played. It played Preordain and Seagate Oracle. This is another thing that control decks typically need to do, and that's filter their draws, manipulate the top of their deck, make sure they draw the things that they want to draw. Preordain lets you scry 2 and then draw a card. It's banned in Modern now, so it's pretty good. Arguably should be banned in Pauper personally, but whatever. And then Seagate Oracle, also a 3-mana 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom, so just let you dig for answers. Let you dig for counter spells, let you dig for removal spells, whatever you need. It also puts a 3 toughness creature to defend you while you try to stabilize with your control deck. And then the final card in the deck was Spreading Seas, which just lets you turn a land into an island. Basically, it allows you to color screw people. You can turn them off of a color, and it also just lets you draw a card, so that's fine. It doesn't hurt too bad. You have the potential to color screw someone, and at worst, you get to draw a card anyway, so it's fine. And yep, that's the the deck. That's it. It's just a very typical blue-black control deck. Disrupt the hand, kill creatures, counter spells, win with a big creature, or just stabilize with a planeswalker. Yep, blue-black control. Just very, very typical blue-black control. So a quick look at the mana base. It played Drowned Catacomb, Dark Slick, Shores, and Creeping Tar Pit as dual lands. The Catacombs come into play tapped unless you control an island or a swamp. The Shores enter the battlefield untapped unless you control 3 or more lands. So early game comes into play untapped, late game it comes into play tapped, and Creeping Tar Pit has to come into play tapped, but it can animate into a 3-power elemental creature that's unblockable, so that's actually not bad. The deck also played Verdant Catacombs and Misty Rainforest, and what's interesting about these is that none of the dual lands we just looked at actually count as land type. They just have generic lands. They're not basic land types, so they can't actually be fetched with these. These could only fetch basic lands. The Misty Rainforest can only fetch islands, and the Verdant Catacombs can only fetch swamps. And then the deck played Tectonic Edge, which taps for colorless mana but can blow up a non-basic land if the opponent has 4 or more lands. So another way to actually disrupt the mana. There's actually a lot of ways to do that in this deck. And then it just played a pile of basics. And then moving on to the sideboard, as always, we won't go super in depth here as that requires an understanding of the entire metagame, but the deck played extra copies of Doomblade, Duress, and Disfigure, just in case you needed to, change up those ratios. The deck also played Flash Freeze and Deprive as additional counter spells, very powerful counter spells, but only against specific types of decks. It played Memory Side, which is basically like a surgical extraction. You get to name a non-land card and then search all of your opponent's stuff and rip all of those cards out and exile them. It also played Ratchet Bomb as another sort of board wipe spell. And then the deck had Soren Markov, which allows you to drain the opponent for 2, set someone's life total at 10, or control target player's next turn if you can get to the ultimate, which isn't horrible considering it pluses 2 and starts at 4. And that's the deck. That's it. That's literally it. Blue-black control doing what blue-black control does. If you've ever played with or against blue-black control, you kind of know what it does, and this does exactly what blue-black control does. So there you go, guys. Blue-black control. That's the deck that won the World Championship in 2010. If you want to see more decks like this, if you want to see more World Championship deck techs, I have a playlist dedicated to them, and you can find a link to that in the description below. So check that out. Also consider checking out the channel and subscribing, as there will surely be more to come in the future. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.